This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we are just going to get started. Just so everybody knows, the conference is being recorded. That way we can post it on YouTube afterwards.
Hi everyone. My name is Nathan, and as you've just heard, this is my wonderful partner in crime, Rebecca, and we'll be running through this presentation for you, which is just an introduction to the EIR program for you guys, the educators and teachers that we work with to send engineers into our schools. This is more of a behind-the-scenes look of our EIR program, which you all are a part of. We will run through who we are at Engineers of Tomorrow, what the EIR program is, the expectations of the program, and some frequently asked questions.
Awesome. Yeah. So on the slide, you will see some of our staff members. The main person that you may have had contact with in the past, or you will see most of your correspondence, is Rebecca White in the middle. You will also see Erica Lee Garcia, our founder, on the left, and then myself and Nathan are both co-op students who are studying mechanical engineering at the University of Guelph and the University of Waterloo, respectively. We are working with Engineers of Tomorrow during this summer term, temporarily joining the staff team and helping to get the program organized and ready for the upcoming school year.
Great. So, what is Engineers of Tomorrow? We are a national not-for-profit organization, and we partner with engineering companies, professional associations, and educators to transform the engineering profession. We want to bring more inclusion and diversity into engineering, and we want to teach the younger generation the ability to learn from failure, to innovate, and to solve the most important problems of the 21st century. We believe in the power of engineering outreach and that it will shape the future and public's perception and the perception of many young people.
So with this in mind, we would both like to share our engineering stories, a great place to start when talking about being an engineer.
Growing up, I loved tinkering with machines and electronics. I especially loved late evenings watching planes fly over the Toronto Pearson Airport with my family. I love building and designing things. I have mounds of drawings and planes and spaceships from when I was a kid, and I began to grow a liking for illustration and art as well. When time came to apply for university, I thought picking engineering meant dropping many of my other hobbies and passions such as illustration, but little did I know that was not true at all. All of us are liminal people, and I saw my two worlds of art and engineering come together during my first year of mechanical engineering. Taking my passion for engineering design and art, I was able to develop concepts for machines and solutions through freehand sketches which later became full projects. Today, I'm a freelance illustrator and an artist working on commissions, and a mechanical engineering student finding middle ground between my work. This is why it is so important for our engineering community to be inclusive and open to everyone and their stories, because we all are unique in our own way.
Yeah, so from a young age, I was always curious about my surroundings and building different structures with anything around. Without certain people in my life, I would never have known that these qualities may have hinted that engineering would be a good fit for me. I was I was always good at math and science and had a huge passion for the protection of the environment. I remember taking garbage bags with me to the park when I went with my grandpa to pick up litter, so I decided to apply for the environmental engineering program at Guelph, and I got in. However, after a year and a half, I realized that I really enjoyed my designing and manufacturing courses and would want to be a part of a team that is designing and bringing to life new sustainable solutions to be used in everyday life that help protect our environment. I decided to switch from environmental engineering to the sustainable stream of mechanical engineering. Now I am happily in mechanical engineering at Guelph, and I am excited to see what the future holds.
So as you can see, each of our own engineering stories are powerful in that they are each very unique. I think a good place to start when we start talking about engineering is what actually is an engineer. Some people don't really know, and a lot of people you ask will have a certain idea of what an engineer is.
Yeah, so we figured we'd start with the education to become an engineer. So in Canada, to become an engineer, you must first get an undergrad degree at a school with an accredited engineering program. This usually takes about 4 to 5 years, and at that point, you are considered an engineer in training and you'll receive your iron ring. The iron ring is worn on the pinky finger of your dominant hand. It serves as a reminder of the obligations and ethics within an engineer's role. Engineers have a unique responsibility in that they are responsible for the safety of society. So if you're walking around, you might notice that some of the EIRs that come into your school might be wearing an iron ring. To become a professional engineer, however, you must work for an additional 4 years in an engineering job, and then you can apply for your professional engineering license, which is also known as your P-Eng.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rebecca. So now, I'll explain. However, an engineer is someone who does more than just problem solve. An engineer is someone who has the power to change the world, someone who wants to improve the lives of others, someone who uses imagination and creativity to turn ideas into reality, and so much more. And that's really what our program hopes to shed light on. We hope to provide students with a more broad idea of what an engineer really is, and a big part of that is helping to break stereotypes.
Yeah, so speaking of stereotypes, this is actually a screen grab from Google when you search the word engineers. Let us know in the chat if you notice any reoccurring themes throughout these photos. We'll give you a second to do so. Teamwork, awesome. Hard hats, safety gear. Working on site, problem solving, computers, planning male and female. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so these are like awesome observations, exactly what we were going for. Construction drawings, exactly. So even though we do see some diversity in the gender that we see, which is a difference from what you would have seen a couple years ago, there's definitely a lot of people that are wearing a hard hat, holding drawings, and holding blueprints. So when you look at these images, they're not necessarily a very diverse workforce that you see in front of you. So our idea is that we want to show everybody that engineering is a lot more diverse than that, and that you'll see a lot of the EIRs in our program don't necessarily fit into this very stereotypical mold of what people tend to perceive an engineer to be.
Yeah, exactly. So as you can see, of the 300 matches and counting that we've made, 36.3% of our EIRs are female, and we value that diversity so much in our program. We believe that everybody has the ability to become an engineer regardless of who they are and what background that they come from. So now that we've had a chance to overview the profession of engineering, we'll move on into talking about what our program is and your roles as educators within it, and what you can expect, as well as the logistics of our program. The EIR program is an engineering outreach program hosted by Engineers of Tomorrow. It was originally founded by PEO, or Professional Engineers of Ontario. We are now taking it on. Engineers of Tomorrow is the organization developing and facilitating this program, which pairs engineers with classrooms across the country. These engineers will then go into the classroom either in person or virtually and go through a presentation or activity that hopefully adds on to the curriculum that you may be doing within your classrooms with the students. It's not necessarily meant to be someone who can come in and do already planned activities for you, but they are able to share their experiences, interests, and excitement with your classroom as well.
Perfect. So what is the goal of our program? The program aims to promote engineering as a foundation by bringing a role model engineer into the classroom to engage with the students with a fun, possibly hands-on activity, and use inclusive messaging to engage all the students. We want to bring a real-life engineer in front of students because most kids don't necessarily have exposure to what engineering is and what is expected of an engineer. Oftentimes throughout school, police and firemen will come in and will present their careers, kind of forefronting their professions. Rarely, however, will you see an engineer in school talking about what they do and how impactful their work can be. Some of the examples of messaging that we encourage our engineers to bring is that an engineer is a diverse profession where the engineer doesn't always have to be doing what you saw, wearing a hard hat, looking at blueprints, and designing a bridge or building. Although there are definitely still some that do this. There are many other areas, however, where the profession of engineering is working in places that you may not necessarily think of. It's for everyone, and there's no mold that you have to fit to be an engineer. You can be a creative thinker, someone who likes a more hands-on approach, or someone that has a more abstract way of thinking. It doesn't always have to be someone who is logical in problem solving. You can use creativity to make different ideas from imagination come to life and maybe even make a difference in the world. The kind of underlying and overall arching theme is that we want to create a positive engineering experience for young people. We want them to leave the classroom with a new and positive idea of an engineer's role in society. We contrast our program to the one and done style that is often associated with STEM outreach. Our program focuses primarily on students and their experience, not necessarily the buzz and marketing that comes with STEM.
Perfect. So moving on to the logistics and details for the program, including what you can expect and what we would like you as teachers to think about as we go into the school year. We want you to define the expectations of the program in your classroom and work with your engineer because as you'll find, and we like to stress, that our program is very much dependent on your relationship with the engineer that you're matched with and the communication that happens between the pair. There's only so much we as staff and as facilitators of the program at Engineers of Tomorrow can do. It really relies on what you and the engineer you were matched with can figure out within your partnership. So define some expectations with your engineer. For example, a goal of your monthly meeting, the time commitment, if you're sticking to. This is all dependent on both your own schedule and the schedule of the engineer. We would love to see regular meetings happen and how you're going to come up with relevant content as a team. Ideally, we'd love to have the engineer come up with content that adds to the curriculum that you're teaching at the time.
You'll need to unlock your iPad first.
Sorry about that. As you know, Siri is always responding to me. Like I was saying, we would love to see regular meetings happen and how you're going to come up with relevant content as a team. Ideally, we'd love to have the engineer come up with content that adds to the curriculum that you're teaching at the time and brings that extra programming and that extra interest into material that you're covering. But sometimes that is not always the outcome, and again, it's all about your communication as a pair. Decide which methods of communication you want to use and how often you want to communicate. Whether that's through email, over the phone, or meeting in person, we want you as a pair to communicate and be aware of each other's goals and expectations for one another. The EIR should generally be creating content that will engage your class and hopefully enhance areas of the curriculum. You can view some examples of possible content on our website at the following link listed on the screen right here. And we have some resources that are more hands-on, hopefully something different that the students will not have necessarily experienced in the classroom already. As well, please contact us if anything is going wrong. We will check in occasionally throughout the year, but it's all going to be communication between you and your engineer that makes or breaks the program. If we can help with anything, please let us know and we will try to make something work. So along these lines, obviously one of the number one questions we keep getting asked during this time is, what's the plan with COVID-19?
Perfect. Yeah, so currently we have implemented virtual matching for our EIR and school pairs. We hope that this will not only provide flexibility in terms of commute, problems relating to school closure due to COVID-19, but also give opportunities to students living in more isolated or remote communities in Canada who may not have access to engineering experiences. For those of you who have been matched in person with an EIR. If come September your school is closed due to COVID-19, we advise that you contact us to let us know and make arrangements to move your match to a virtual setting. We will help you as much as we can to help make the transition smooth if there needs to be one.
Great, so now we're going to move into a couple of our most asked questions. Then we'll give you a chance to ask any questions that you may have as well. So the first scenario we're going to talk about is communication issues. Let's say you're excited to have your EIR in the classroom, but you haven't heard from your engineer and you're worried that your students will not get a chance to experience the exciting opportunities and you won't get to take advantage of the program. The solution is pretty simple. You reach out to them. Communication is a two-way street, so if you're not hearing from your engineer, you can reach out to them. If you've tried this and they're still not responding or you're having trouble tracking them down, you can reach out to us. We're always here to help. We can assist you in navigating communication methods and get connected with your EIR. Number two is curriculum issues. Sometimes your EIR is doing a fantastic job at engaging the students and getting them excited about engineering, but what they've been teaching doesn't necessarily line up with the curriculum that you're covering. You're worried as an educator that you won't have time to cover everything you need to over the school year with an engineer picking up one class per month. What you should do is communicate like we will often say. You should talk with the engineer about what you specifically would like them to cover. Chances are that they have thought of or can find resources available to them to access that cover these topics that you're wanting them to talk about. And there are likely several real-world application activities that they can walk through with your class. Look through the resources and activity ideas on our website, like mentioned before, and if you find something that you think would be interesting that your students would love to participate in and learn about, see if your engineer would be interested in trying it out. Lastly, email us because we are always here to help and we may be able to direct you to an activity that could work or problem solve that with you.
Great. So another scenario is that your EIR is very excited to be a part of the program and share their knowledge and experience with the students, but it is clear that it's their first time doing this sort of thing and they're struggling to engage and relate to the students. So what could you do? This is something that seems to cause a lot of concern when talking to a lot of our new volunteers. Many of them say things along the lines of, "Oh, I really like this idea, but I've never really been in a classroom before." So for a lot of them, this is something new that they're trying out, and while they're very excited, they might not know the best ways to engage with your class. It would be great if you could suggest ways for them to enlarge engagement with these students because you know your students best. If there's something specific you think you can improve on, definitely point out constructive criticism. It is necessary for the engineers to improve and to have the greatest impacts on the students. Like I said, most of them are eager and are willing to learn and try new things and will likely listen to what you have to say. Finally, the last kind of question that is very commonly asked is what if your teaching situation changes halfway through the school year and you couldn't have been happier with the program, but unfortunately you have to go and leave for whatever reason it may be. If this occurs, you can just let us know as soon as possible and we will help to work through it together. There are multiple solutions, including searching for a teacher who is interested in continuing to host your EIR on a monthly basis. If you have had a positive experience with them, often personal testimony can be such an important way to share this program and to get someone excited in continuing it. Sharing that with the person that's replacing you can be an excellent way to continue this program with your students as well. Another possible solution is to try and find another teacher at your school who is interested in the program so that our EIR can stay at that school. EIRs often love the program once they're in it and are sad to see or find out that the teacher they are matched with has something that has come up and they are not able to continue. However, the opportunity to stay with the same school and continue to work with kids is always appealing and always exciting for an engineer in this situation.
All right, so that's the end of our formal presentation and the things that we wanted to cover today. So now we're going to have a discussion where you can ask us some questions about the program or anything to do with it, and we will do our best to answer you.
So feel free to type in the chat, or if you want to unmute, you can also do that as well.
Hi, I'm Sandy. I have a question. Hi, Nathan, by the way.
Hi, Miss Evans. How are you?
I'm good. I have a question for you
Yeah.
regarding the program. And there probably isn't, but I just have to ask. Are there any funds? Like, let's say there's equipment or something. Let's say we want to buy, I don't know, an Arduino or something. Are there any funds associated with this, or does the funding, anything like that, come from the school's budget?
Yeah, so I actually believe that we have an allotted budget for the EIRs to use when they're coming into your classroom. So I believe the budget is $300 for the school year.
Okay. Okay, just so we have an idea of that. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so we have a question in the chat that says, what resources will teachers have to purchase or prepare? So that is very kind of up to the match itself or the pair. So oftentimes it depends on the activities that you decide to do kind of within your classroom. And then from there, it's split between the engineer and the teacher. So sometimes the engineer can kind of put everything together at home and just drop it off in a box that you hand out to your class, or they come into the classroom with it and hand it out. Other times there might be, you might want to split it a little bit more. The teacher may want to do a little bit more of the preparation, but we kind of leave it on the pair. That way everyone can figure out what would work best for their pairing.
Right, so there's a question from Radhika, and they say, is there a specific time frame or number of days in the classroom, for example, that we should follow, or is it based on the volunteers' availability? So to that, we would say it is heavily based on the volunteers' availability. Our target is that the volunteer or engineer will come in at least once per month, and that's something that we sort of stress. However, it isn't something that's very hard. So yeah, and if your engineer is excited and they would like to come in more days, by all means, that is excellent. We actually encourage that.
Yeah. So we have another question that says, is there information that is appropriate for college-bound students? So I'm assuming you're speaking kind of like high school level students that may be kind of looking in the field. Yeah, perfect. Secondary. So we do have quite a few resources that can also be run through with secondary school classrooms. If you want some specific examples, by all means, check out EIR.ca under the EIR resources tab, and you can see some specific examples there. But we do have ideas for the program itself within high school.
Yeah, perfect. It is for a full year, so it's from September to June and that 10-month period. So your typical school year. As well, has there been any successful matches with kindergarten age students? And yes, there have been. I think we actually had an engineer who went in and she did activities related to the storybook that the teacher was reading to the kids in kindergarten. And as well, she taught them a little bit about engineering licensure and whatnot. So yeah, we've had successful matches done with kindergarten classes as well.
Oh, perfect. So we have another question that says, is there a paperwork or a reporting piece that teachers need to complete? And do we reapply every year, or does the match continue year after year as long as the volunteer is happy with the match? So often at the end of the year, we will send you a feedback form where hopefully, we can get your feedback, get your thoughts on the program, and hear about the pair and how your year went. For the reapplication every year, we will send out an email to see if you'd like to continue in the program, and we also check with the engineer to see if they would like to continue in the program. And if you both say yes and the match was successful, you will stay together. And just kind of keep an eye out for that email. It should be coming in May to June at the end of the school year next year. And yeah, just as long as we get your feedback, you should be good to go.
Yeah, so is my EIR paired with just my class or my whole school? So it depends. I would say it depends on the way you applied as well. So oftentimes we'll have some applications that are unique to a teacher, which is most common. And other times we might have an application, if you applied that way, which states that you guys maybe would like an engineer paired with your department instead. And maybe that there's a primary teacher contact is associated with the department at the school or the school itself.
Yeah, perfect. So my matched engineer has not had any experience with kindergarten students, and I am fairly new to the grade. Are there resources specifically for this age group? Yep, so there are resources that are kind of available for a range of age groups, and including kindergarten, and you can always take the resources that are available, and you and your engineer can kind of work to modify it a bit if you think it might be too complicated, or if you're at the higher end of the spectrum, right, and you're looking at something that's for a grade 4 class, but you want to make it apply to a grade 6, they can be modified in any way that you would like to see it fit with your classroom.
Right. And another question is, when will the engineer reach out to me and get started in my classroom? So the engineer can actually, if you've already been matched and sent an email with the following contact info, then your engineer can reach out to you whenever, really. And if they don't make the first step in reaching out to you as soon as possible, then maybe you can make the first step and sort of reach out to them and say, hey, how is it going? Would you like to have a chat about what's happening? As to when they might get started in your classroom, that would be September, so this upcoming school year.
Yeah, perfect. And so we just kind of have some specific questions. So for the teacher in Thunder Bay and paired with Quebec, yes, that would be a virtual match to allow for both the engineer and yourself to stay part of the program. We created the virtual match there. And then for the grade 8 on Rotary, having 2 classes, most likely that could be a discussion that you have with your engineer kind of in the early stages and kind of present the idea to them as well and see what they think about it. And then finally, if COVID restrictions are eased, will the engineer be coming into the classroom to work with the students and teacher? So if you have an in-person match, however, it needs to be virtual in the fall, we do hope that, once everybody's comfortable and once the COVID restrictions have been eased, people will be able to make it into the classroom. So that is our hope for the year. All right. Oh, perfect. All right, so it looks like we're kind of wrapping up on the questions. So we just have a little bit more to say, and then you are all free to go and enjoy your afternoon. However, if you think of anything later, please, by all means, send either myself, Rebecca White, or Nathan an email.
Yeah, exactly. So we just wanted to let you know that on July 29th, we have our Diverse and Inclusive Messaging webinar that's for all our teachers and our engineers to talk a little bit about how engineering can be diverse and how you can incorporate that into your messaging. Also, on September 25th, we have our EIR Program Kickoff. So the links for those to register were in the email that you received a few weeks ago. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let us know now, or you can email us later and we'll happily get back to you as soon as we can. Contact us on social media and follow our social media platforms if you would like to continue to hear more about the program and what we're doing, as well as different stories and experiences about the program.
Yeah, we love it when teachers take pictures of what's going on in their classroom. If you can do that, then that's much appreciated. We love getting that little kind of window into your world and seeing the impact of the program. If you have stories throughout the year that you want to share of how this program has gone or the impact you've seen, please share with us because it helps to give a first-person account of the impact of the EIR program to the students in classroom. It helps us to really see firsthand the engineering outreach that's going on. Well, thank you so much for listening and attending, everybody. Welcome to the program, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to answer these last two questions that trickled in, so should I attend the other work sessions? That's really up to you, although they are geared towards engineers. However, we don't mind it if you attend. We always love it when the participation is up. And yes, so this entire thing is recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel. Yeah, so in that case, if there aren't any other questions, thank you so much for attending, everybody, and we hope you have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Woo woo, we did it. Okay, I'm leaving.
Yippee-ki-yay!
Woo! Okay, I'm gonna end it for all. Oh wait, actually, I'm gonna pause the recording.